It's now time for I got
that's dope.
issue number 9 of the Black Panther. I also got the variants too. What you think? That's the only comic I got. I got the variants. See, when this comic book gets canceled, Chillmonger is not to blame. Oh, you too, huh? Okay, Jade, it's just a variant off. Do you know who this character is with the little
Nah,
T?
she was a OC that was created as part of like a variant cover like push that was happening. So there was a bunch that were created. It's supposed to be like new OC heroes, almost like sidekicks. They made variants for like Spider-Man, a new side character for like Storm.
So she is Wolverine's.
No, that's T'Challa's. Like if you look at the design, it's Cold Tiger, which was what T'Challa was almost going to be called originally.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What's her name?
Didn't know that. I didn't.
Her name's Cold Tiger. Yeah, they're repurposing.
Oh, she's actually Cold Tiger.
Yeah.
Wow, that's original.
Okay. Yeah, you see the little
She's got the glove, same color, the CT on the belt. Yeah,
the T, and then the claws, and then she has a little tiger thing right there.
That's okay. I mean, I like the design. I kind of wish they made an original character.
Well, I mean, technically it's original, right? Because Cold Tiger never debuted.
I mean, I know who Cold Tiger is. I kind of wish they gave her another name. That's just my thing. Because people who read comics know who Cold Tiger is, and they expect it to be T'Challa. But you know, that's just me.
Cartier Saint Croix. Okay, or Saint Croix. Sorry.
So hold on a second. Chill, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to see all you guys here talking about this book. I'm just going to be here for a moment because I own an actual comic book store. So I actually see individuals that come into this store and purchase their stuff on a weekly, daily, whatever basis. I appreciate each and every one of you guys that are here because I am so sick and tired of all of this nonsense that's going on YouTube where alleged comic book fans sit in front of their wall of Funkos talking about how they know what would fix the industry and what would fix this and what would fix that, when all they're doing is placating to their audience. There's an individual who
6.5 hours later,
and I would think that it was genuine coming from you guys because you actually consume this stuff and you want better for this stuff. I get tired. There was one individual who made
3 weeks later.
Now, I don't know why Black Panther is ending at number 10, but you know what? I want a Black Panther book that's going to be on the shelves and sell as well as Spider-Man. And well, Captain America doesn't sell that well. Okay, sell as well as Spider-Man, or maybe say the X-Men or something like that, you know? I don't know why Marvel can't get their shit together because it's really annoying. Like whether it's the editors, whether like if there's a group editor or if there's an editor for the book specifically, they should be enmeshed in the output of this book, whether it's from making sure that the artist puts turns the pages in on time, the writer, whatever the case may be. And this isn't happening. There's something going on there that they're not paying attention to. And if they need to have one specific person doing one book because they can't multitask and do a bunch of books, well, then that's what needs to happen. But it's just really annoying. So I apologize for this rant.
I like how you just answered the question I was going to ask you, because I was going to go straight to the sales talk. And you're like, I just don't know. It's about the editor. It's about, and yeah, the editor deserves blame, of course.
It's just, yeah. And yeah, Steve, I'm sorry. It's really frustrating. This is to me, this is a simple answer. This is a simple solution, and they just don't seem to be doing it. And I don't know if it's because as Americans, we've always, when you tell me to do something, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm not going to do what you tell me. And maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know, but you're like a multi-billion-dollar company. So maybe you might want to listen to, I don't know, the people that actually, buy your stuff every week and try to sell it to their customers. But
it's free feedback. Every week we come on here, and every week I've come on here and I go, wow, he's still not the king of Wakanda, based off of something that an agent of racism wrote about like a year ago from now, because it was March when it was his final issue.
But see, I understand that might be what you want, but if Eve did,
it's not just the me thing. I don't care about me. I'm not saying these things because of a preference.
No. What I was saying though is, would you want Eve to just like one day he'll like in the TV show Dallas in the 80s, dude died and then he opened up the shower door and there he was alive again. Like, do you want something to happen that
we're on issue number 9. You are using week 1 talking points at me. Like that's not that where we
Well,
are.
I'm
We're on
gonna
the
say
ninth issue. He's still not the king, and he's never
I'll add a foil
expressed
to that
desire to return to king. He
'cause
just said in the last comic book on the train, "I'll let you go," but he said, "You know what? You know what makes me more than the throne," and he's more so separating himself from that status.
so
But you know what?
I
This may
I
go to
didn't
what
need
Mike was
T'Challa
saying.
to. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but this may go to what Mike was saying in reference to the editors, Will Moss specifically. There is no logical reason why the last Black Panther run should have gone for 15 issues. That book should have been ended after issue number 8. But for whatever reason, those in charge thought it was doing well and allowed the disrespect for our favorite character to continue. So this plays right into Mike. Number one, is your store in New Jersey?
I'm in Connecticut.
Yes, if you're looking for Row Comics, drive over to Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's right here on Fairfield Avenue, next to the KIF. Row Comics.
Mike, have you noticed like a difference in reception for like Ultimate Black Panther in terms of sales or engagement at your store versus the 616 run?
Absolutely. And I don't know if that's because of the FOMO or, you know, the thing that Random House lost 15,000 copies or whatever it was, or just because the Ultimate label was in front of it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't honestly understand if there's some sort of a stigma. Like there's a reason that Marvel keeps doing number ones. It's not because I don't think it's because they want to. I think it's because they want to sell comics. And a comic that has a number 1 on it will sell better than a comic that has like number 13 or 24 or whatever. So that's why they keep doing that. And y'all keep buying number 1s and you keep reinforcing that. So it's like a cycle that just is never going to end. But I mean, with this, we'll find out, you know, Ultimate X-Men comes out next month. So we'll see if it continues, like, you know, if it's the Ultimate title, or if it's just like literally a number 1 building up with the buzz or whatever that happened with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Like, I'm a bit of a foil in terms of Chillon, because like I didn't actually need T'Challa to be king that quickly. I want it eventually to happen. I mean, that is like the status quo. That's the default. I expect it to revert to that at some point. I didn't.
How
need that.
How much time were the customers supposed to just go
well,
week in and week out?
I'll tell you from my perspective. If the story bangs, bro, if the story is good, I'm with it.
Exactly.
I'm rocking with it. I'll be there.
Yes.
Granted, I don't feel, for me personally, like this run has been exciting for me. So it hasn't banged. I haven't been that excited to see where it goes. But if it was exciting, I'd be like, oh, okay, let's see where it goes. Like, I'd be so down to see like how he eventually gets to that restorative process of the throne. But to your point, the thing is, Ewing could have done this multiple ways, and she said so on the interview that she did with Black Comic Lord. She said, "Hey, Will Moss told me I could do whatever I want. Like, if I want to just revert the status quo and make my own thing, I could do that." But she said she likes the constraint of following where her predecessor left off, which is cool. But then at that point, if the story isn't catching, then it's on you, because that was your call, right? That was your choice.
When there's a new president, on the first day on the job, the president does whatever the F he wants to do. What that last guy did, I don't approve of. So here, we're going to cancel that.
Reverse it off. Yep.
So when there's a new ownership, and we understand that what the guy who did prior was like I called him, an agent of racism, and he's trying to make him not the king anymore. He's not an Avenger anymore. Well, we're going to kill all these characters. If it's your first day on the job, fix what happens.
Well, see, but we understand that. But did Eve understand that? Like, was that her
Eve Ewing? If I gave her the question, are you in support of reparations? No, we got to get there. We got to wait. If I would expect her answer to be yes. I would expect that you are now the person with the pen who can correct things, and you took 9 issues, you haven't done it yet. She can do it on the 10th issue. The final page of the 10th issue could be Shuri on the little intercom thing. T'Challa, we need you in Wakanda. Vampires are attacking. Folashade is dead, and by decree, you are the next on the hierarchy on the throne. You're king again. What? And then read Black Panther Blood Hunt. We could have it all repaired in one freaking page. Just same way that man destroyed in one freaking page, where he made T'Challa say that very uncharacteristic thing to Jai.
This has been my kind of perspective of Coates era, post Coates era. But most of the writers that are now writing are more concerned with like Wakanda as a broader idea and as a contract, as a setting, right? And all of the world building and kind of like all the world building around that is kind of what takes precedence and what it seems like these writers are more excited about. And so when she sees T'Challa destabilized, whereas, you know, us as fans, we're like, okay, we really want to get a very character-driven story about how he gets back to where he was supposed to be. She might be like, well, you know what, this is a good opportunity to start to flesh out other aspects of this world. I think that's what she finds more engaging as a writer. And that's why she chooses to focus on that. Like if you go to that issue one is just like an ethnography of Burning T'Chaka. Like we're seeing these barbershops, seeing all these cool locales, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of like some type of dynamic, fast paced, like, okay, like what's going on with T'Challa, that's not really there, right? But that's not her. I don't think that was her focus. But that kind of clashes with what I want from these books and what I feel like I haven't been getting. Ultimate Black Panther, as an example, that it's scratching that itch. Like it comes out the gate swinging. It's like, okay, we got a setup of who the big bads are. We've got a conflict. Our character has a reason now for wanting to join the fray. Like none of that really happened in her. So I read the first issue, like, okay, that's cool. Second, third, I was still like, what's supposed to be the hook here? Like the Deathlock thing with the wedding kind of just ends and then it's done. I have no idea what these gang members want to do. I have zero context for what these gang members are actually trying to do or what the conflict between these gang members are. Like I don't really feel like I'm immersed in the drama of Burning T'Chaka as I've been reading personally.
I'll agree because I know the next writer is going to pay no attention to Burning T'Chaka. I know
This
Shuri is a character that matters. So what happens to Shuri is relevant. What happened here to Ilonga family, what happens to Besa, what happens to these characters who were just introduced now, no one cares. Just the same way that she didn't care about the prior stuff, the same way he didn't care about Intergalactic Empire, the same way Coates wasn't caring about
Intergalactic Empire is gonna stick though. That would I'll give Coates that was a big Hail Mary, and there's so much you can do with that. I feel like it'll stick, and if you get the right writer on it, it'll actually be good, in my opinion. I'm cool with the Intergalactic Empire.
I'm cool with everyone adding, but it's just I know that these characters are not mainstays.
I've had conversations with Mr. Barnes before. And I've had conversations with like a lot of the white writers, and a lot of times they just the vibe that I get from them just in conversation. I feel like they may tell you may ask a question and they may answer it a certain way, but they ain't telling the truth. They're not telling the truth at all. And I think that the whole thing with Eve saying that she was given free reign, she might have been given free reign, but it wasn't as free as you think it is, because they're gonna say, hey, this is the influence, this is the direction that we're trying to go in. And I think that the whole world building with Wakanda, that is the direction that they wanted to go in with the MCU and everything else, because that's what they've been preaching about. So that's a reason why they're not really, to me, that they're not really trying to focus more on T'Challa returning to the throne immediately. Because like you said, after 9 issues, there's been no indication that there's going to be any turning point where he's going to be headed back in that direction. There's been nothing in relation.
See, that's interesting. I actually thought
what you're saying basically.
I want to play the Eve Ewing before everyone talks and misquotes her, because I don't think that's what she said about I can do anything I want. Listen, this question was more so about Storm. I got it in front of me. Let me play it.
All right. I'll let you play.
When I got hired to do this, I said, well, how long do you want me to, how long, like, am I pitching you 6 issues, 12 issues, and Will Moss was like, I don't know, how long you want, like implicitly again, like, he's like, Ta-Nehisi did this for a long time. I was like, well, that could be cool, right? Again, I could be fired at any time. But all that's to say, I want to make
hilarious. Like looking back at that, never mind.
Sure that I clarify, like, there's the arc and there's the run, and I have no way of knowing how long my run will be. And so the way I think about it is a little bit of like my checklist for the character and what are the immediate stakes of the story and how we will continue from where we're leaving off with the Ridley run, and then what's on my list for the long run, if that makes sense. So I can say that the constraints, I think it's not, the way I write is not to be like, issue number 1, oh, that was all a dream. Everything that just happened, like that didn't really, to undo. I don't think it's good storytelling or good continuity to immediately leap away from where the previous person left you, right? I think we continue on that for the time being, see how that plays out in ways that are new and interesting, and that in the long run, that my priorities might be different. So
So basically, she was writing this comic book as if she had a long run, as if she was. I'll get to that stuff later. I know that we got to do things and continue things. She doesn't say Will Moss said do anything you want. She said Will Moss didn't know how long it would run for. Basically it's code for.
Well, she
as long
mentioned
as
a
it's
run
selling.
and an arc. She mentioned a run and an arc,
and that's what she's speaking to. Not so much creatively. Will Moss said do what you want to do.
I'm gonna check. I think there was another interview in writing where she effectively. I'll double check if I can find the interview to make sure I'm not, quoting out of context. But I recall something along the lines of she didn't have to follow from the status quo. She kind of alluded to like I could have upended this like if I wanted to, but decided, but like the constraint, like actually kind of a voice right there. I think it's not good storytelling. She didn't do it.
I get it, and so she has to take all of this from. But look, she still has one more comic book to rectify what Herpes did when he was writing.
But for me, it don't rectify because it's not like I don't view the run in high esteem as long as T'Challa becomes king at the end. If it wasn't entertaining to me, then it didn't do its job as like a consumer, right? I spend money monthly to be entertained. But like, because actually, to your point, Jay, I actually thought it was interesting. I thought Will Moss, my interpretation of this Black Panther era is that the editor's super hands off. I actually kind of got the gauge of like, seems like this guy is just like, it's
the Black Book. Just to do, guys, go ahead.
I kind of got a sense of like, does he feel like he doesn't want to step on Black writers' toes by being a little bit too ham-fisted about where they got to go? Like I was thinking,
I'm sure that's what he'll tell you.
But I kind of got the vibe. It's like, yo, these writers come in and whatever they're feeling, whatever they're trying to do, he's just like, bet, go ahead, do that. And that's it.
And this is one of the things that Paul has said on our show on Fridays is that in Marvel, there needs to be more Black, I almost said producers, more Black editors. So people who actually know and love the character. Now, I know a lot of people don't have an issue with the Coach run. I know the Intergalactic Empire, a lot of people like that. I get it. I understand it. I am not a fan of Coach Run because he is the one who laid the foundation that other person built on to make our favorite character disrespected the way that he did. Had Coach not laid the groundwork for T'Challa to be, shunted aside as just another individual who's no longer the monarch, which I disagreed with, then the other writer before Dr. Ewing would not have been able to build on that.
But see, I also think part of it is I think what Jay said too about how Disney wants to build up Wakanda. So they could be saying like, well, we're going to world build because we have a Wakanda show and we want to do like, an animated thing or whatever the case is. There's notes that these editors give to their writers of things that they need to do, they need to put into the story, they need to where the direction they want it to go and all that. So we don't know, like, if this dude's been given her. And of course, I don't know if she's going to stick up, but like, she's not going to say, well, I got this note that said I needed to, make sure that Sherry was, Black Panther for whatever, for the arc or something. We don't know what the answer is. I just know that what they need to do is they need to start following the sales figures for these books, because if the book is selling well, then you want to invest in that book. And if the book isn't selling well, then you want to end that book and then pivot and maybe try it again in a different way or something like that, instead of continuing to bash yourself over the head.
No, that's why there are a lot of number ones, Mike, because of that reason. Something that didn't happen back in the old days, as I'm sure is that you would have an arc and it would run, 3 to 6 issues, whatever it was. And then a lot of times after that arc ran, you wouldn't start the comic book over. You would have a new creative team come in at, issue number 63 or whatever. And I think, like, going to what you said, the company want to increase sales, and your casual observer doesn't necessarily want to come in and read Black Panther 333. They want to feel like they're coming in on the story from the very beginning, and I think that's part of it as well.
Well, I agree. I agree with you, and I think that's part of the reason why I keep getting a bunch of miniseries. There's 5-issue miniseries. There's 4-issue miniseries for like even Loki. Loki had a show. He had a 4-issue miniseries. He doesn't have like a monthly title. It literally ran just 4. He didn't even get 5. He got 4 issues. And
Nobody's getting 5 anymore.
And they do this because that way what they can do is they can bundle it and put it in a trade, and they can monetize it even further by putting out a collection like that. I don't know how they reconcile what I do, like what I sell on a weekly basis, as with like, what could be a long term to be on a shelf with, the other collected editions and stuff like that.
I hope you guys can see how small, it's very small, but it says issue 1 out of 4 for cable. Issue 1 out of 4, like 1 to 4, 1 to 4. There's a couple that go 1 to 5. Gods is 1 to 8. I thought it was ongoing, but
it was based off sales, whether it was going to be ongoing or not. And I
no,
don't
it's
think
not.
Like
these are predetermined. These one.
No. I'm saying Gods. Like Gods was 1 to 8, but if it sold better, it would be extended. That's what
you reckon. I could believe that.
That's what Hickman had said.
Well, it's Hickman, so yeah.
That's what Hickman said.
Yeah.
Scarlet
But
Witch and Quicksilver
going,
was.
the number one serve a lot of different purposes for the comic book consumers and the people that are selling it, because while at CGC I would see people literally sending in every number one possible simply because they thought something new. It's the FOMO. It's like, okay, we're going to send all these number ones in, get these slab, and then it's hope that in the eventuality that it's going to be worth something later. So that serves one purpose. And then the number one with the reset, which is a new writer, I guess it is to kind of look at, see if there's going to be a spike, from the previous writer to this, because I couldn't understand, why are you going to put out Ultimate when you already have a Black Panther run? Why aren't you going to let that go to the fullest end and then put out something else? So I think that number one is I don't know, it's a kind of a two-sided coin a little bit.
Exactly. Mike doesn't know what he's talking about. Get out of here, Mike. Shit. The comic book is on the first page of the comic book. We got T'Challa just kind of like thinking, big, huge page. Now, here's the thing that I noticed in this comic. This is a 1-pager, right? A splash page. A lot of dialogue in there, which is okay. If you're going to use the whole page, fill it with dialogue. But it felt like there was a lot of stalling and there was more opportunity for more panels to be here, because I'm going to keep counting now, because I noticed that there was another one here. This where she's being transported. Now, in my review, I didn't catch this. This is like going to somewhere outside of space. This is like a portal. I didn't get that. Right? So that's all mostly one panel. Then we get this one. This is a double pager. Cool, obviously, but all of this happened on a double pager. Do you see what I mean when I say like she was stalling? Here's another. This has more panels than just one. I would say that bottom part counts as a panel, but huge page. The next page is double pager again, where it's a double pager with 3 panels
nothing
here.
Yeah, but there's no word. There's really no words. Yeah.
There's really no words. So I'm just noticing how slow this was going to kind of get to the final page, which would have been another 1-pager. But that's kind of normal for final pages to be 1-pagers. Here, another 1-pager.
Yeah,
5.
I didn't notice that.
I mean, so for me, like comics being visual, in theory, this wouldn't be a problem because you can do a lot of your storytelling visually, right? Like that's still cool. But this is the penultimate issue, right? And when I'm thinking about contextually what I really know about our villains and what's going on, I feel like I need more context to care about the story, because up to this point, I feel like I'm not entirely certain what I'm supposed to really care about. Like we're at issue 9. What is the Alonga family's motive? Can anyone here speak to what that is, or the Aaliyah family's motive? Like I don't even know what the gang members are trying to do.
I mean, they're just trying to be in control, like AIM or Janet Jackson or something. I mean, that's the only thing that I can take from it.
Yeah, be the number one crime family.
Right.
But where are the stakes? Like, what does that mean? What is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, even in the context of the whole run, like, all I really saw was some of the like disgruntled Hatu Zaraze like roughing up people for like money, but like you don't see the way the city is like oppressed by these gangs. Like these gangs are really like, totally running stuff, fully control. You don't see any of that. So part of it, I'm like, well, where's the stakes? Everyone's kind of just chilling at the food stands, minding their own business. Okay, they got roughed up for money here and there, but like this doesn't feel like a, like a crime enterprise type thing. I wasn't getting that vibe. So now that we're at issue 9, I'm kind of like, well, I don't really care what, like, I don't really know what to care about.
Besa and Samari, there is a kidnapping we're in the midst of, which will
She's
be
looking for her,
resolved.
her friend. Yeah.
So it'll be resolved in 10, and and a lot of attention was given to that, so that when it happens at 10, we'll be like, oh yeah, a successful thing for T'Challa to do. So T'Challa succeeded. This guy here, what's his name, Niobe?
Yeah,
His intuition, like look how
Niobe.
It's Chiang
Niobe,
Meyer's son, right?
Changer Meyer's son. His accomplishments, again, because he's not a mainstay character, and it's very unlikely that we'll see him after this run. My investment in him isn't strong and high. Will Moss, please prove me wrong. Please use him in Blood Hunt when Sherilyn Eaton was doing that. Please use him in the next volume 10. But like, I don't care if he can navigate away from those kidnappers, and I don't care.
The thing with I was thinking with the Inyobe character, being that he's I guess he's like T'Challa's cousin or something. They're closely related. Their families grew up together. When I first was reading it, I was thinking that maybe he's gonna be like the man in the chair, so to speak. He has Shuri, but then he has this other guy as well, and I don't know, maybe like an Everett Ross type character, later on with going on into the future. But I think he's an interesting character. I've been, kind of zoned into him and Besa and wanting to know what's going to happen with them.
As a bow tie,
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I wearing lawyer myself. I am interested in that character.
Yeah.
Going on with Jay's interpretation, that's what I kind of thought too, that he was gonna be like kind of like his oracle kind of character, where he knows more about the city and he can tell T'Challa what to do, like what to expect, like how to act and do, and which he was kind of doing, but then there wasn't enough interaction with him for them to create a good synergy, a bond between the both of them. Given the fact that that is his cousin and Shangamar's son, it's like, all right, why are you not investing more into him?
I just don't think because I know it's being canceled. I know that it's coming to an end, and a lot of focus has been given off of T'Challa. And then there's my doubts that even with all the connections that Eve made with him, with Changer Meyer and T'Challa, a new writer isn't going to, honor it, and Will Moss isn't going to honor it. It's pessimism
for them not to continue with this one.
Yeah,
well, it goes back to what Mike said. That's, to me, is the number one kind of effect. So if they continued it as in like, okay, this is a continuation of Black Panther 2020, this could have been better because now you would have had backstory. And if people found this run to be interesting, they would have went back to the other comics and started reading that. But that's not what they're doing anymore. And unfortunately, this is where DC is winning over Marvel, because they're doing that with their main character, with their popular characters. Like Batman has his run from Rebirth since 2016, 2015. So it's like, why aren't you doing the same thing? Why aren't you continuing to run a character you want to uplift like that?
This goes to what one of you guys were saying about how it may seem that Will Moss has a hands-off, nonchalant attitude about the character, and that's definitely not what you want. You are in charge of these properties. You obviously want them to sell. You get a creative team on there who can push the character forward. You as I keep wanting to say producer, you as the editor should at least have some idea of where you want this character to go in the overall universe of the 616. And just the idea that he's hands off is disturbing, because T'Challa is one of the 5 most important people in Marvel, the way I look at it. And for him to not have his own book ongoing, to be sort of on the run, it's just bad editing by Will.
So here's the deal, right? From my perspective, sorry, Cho, I kind of feel like they should they should mirror what DC is doing, because DC is highlighting the Justice League members with their own runs. Why not do the same thing with your Avengers? And
That's what it
T'Challa is an Avenger.
right.
You see
That's
what
what
I'm
it used to be.
saying?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So because when you're an Avenger, you're probably one of the most important people in the universe.
Yep.
Especially as a hero, right? That's why they chose you to be part of the team, because now you are involved in worldwide events.
Back in the 90s. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You good?
No, I was just going to say back in the 90s when the Avengers was, the main team book, well, outside of the X-Men, you had, members were Captain America, you had Hulk, that whole list. With the exception of Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, every one of those main characters who were on the team had their own individual title. You had your Hulk title, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, so on and so forth. It's just the black characters are the ones who have been given short shrift when it comes to that.
Yep.
That's
And
something
still
to
to this
Very
day.
true.
And still
Very
to
true.
this day.
Yep. Because
So,
in
so
That's
Marvel,
why
my,
you
my question too is what's gonna if I know we can't be like we can't predict, but okay, so Eve's run is about to end. What's next? Because I know Ultimate is only that's a limited series, right?
We
It's
don't know
not
what's next, but
determined.
also if a run comes to an end, I don't want what's next right away. Let's take a break. Oh, Blood Hunt, the
Blood
tie-in
Hunt,
where he becomes a
Blood Hunt is
vampire.
what's next. Yeah.
Okay.
So the vampire stuff is going to be 3 issues. By issue 3 in the last page, he'll be back to normal. Circular storytelling. Shout out to Marvel.
right.
We don't know what's next after that. But what the Avengers though, like look at this. How much did this tie in with that comic book? Aside from he wears the same thing here that he wears there. There's really
Yeah.
nothing where I got to read
Nothing.
to understand this point. Read Avengers. There was no
Yeah.
there was no synchronizing. And a lot of that has
Yeah.
to do with 10-ish, or let's say the trade paperback, writing for the trade problem. All you need to write for a trade is have 5 comic books that fit in a story. You can do a 2-page story, or I mean, rather a 2-issue story, followed by a 3-issue story, and you can fit that all in a trade. She could have done a 1-issue, 1-shot story for issue number 6. 7 and 8 could have been a 2-parter, and then 9 and 10 could have also been a 2-parter. And we could have fit that also in a trade. We probably could have, carried on and done more than just the Burn into Chaka portion of what she wanted to do. She could have done Burn into Chaka and resolved that. Then she could have done Golden City stuff, and then she could have done things that tie in with the Avengers. She could have done more different things than tell a 10-issue long story, which feels like all one, right? It feels like we're all,
Yeah.
the story from number 1 to here. When I read something like
Mhm.
Spider-Man, maybe because there's rotating artists, it feels like there's 3-issue stories, 3-issue stories, and they're in pieces. And I
Very
think
long arc. This is
that
a
has
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
extremely
that
long
has to
10 run. Yeah, 10 issues.
it has to play a part
Yeah.
in Spider-Man's success. How the new writer, or rather new artists coming in. Of course, it's a bi-monthly book, right? But like, or bi-weekly, I should say, every 2 weeks. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like that is a thing that I noticed here in Marvel Comics, because the whole Besa Samari, like if this was Spider-Man, Besa would have saved Samari by the end of 3, 4.
At least 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, it shouldn't take good storytelling 10 issues to have a full narrative arc in comic books. Because, a lot of the good storylines from comics like the Dark Phoenix saga, which is arguably one of the best comic book arcs in comic book history, wasn't 10 issues, I don't believe. Right? That was what, 4, maybe 5? And that was peak writing back in the day. So,
Yeah.
At
and
least I think if you're gonna do the 10 issue, like you need to have more of a hook or more of a mystery. Like getting familiar with the world and world building for such a long extent, that won't capture people for the 10 issues. There have to be more of a underlying narrative or at least mystery throughout the issue of the book to get you really like hooked, see how something resolves.
Hey, how about a jumping on point, eh? When there's a new thing, right? So like, look at this comic book
Yeah.
here. This sold well because speculators were like, "Oh, a new suit. It's going to be in the movie." It was the social media suit. It says new
Yeah.
costume. It says, like they're really trying to push that you can get started here with Spider-Man. And if you're just like walking on the shelves and you see new job. Okay, this is something I need to know what happened in issue 33 to know what happens in issue 34. Let me go. Let me give it a look.
So the way this basically laid out. So are we putting this at the feet of Eve? That in 10 issues, she's only told one story, and it's basically a flat story where it's
Yeah.
not showing anything else, any dimensions of what's going on in burning T'Chaka or burning Xena or burning Azari or any place like that.
Ironheart was 12 issues and
Yes.
it was a one story over arc, but within that there were smaller there were resolutions, right? There were
Yeah,
things
yeah,
we
because
addressed other
it
things.
was a lot of other like she was introducing villains, and then I know where she had Riri actually go to Wakanda. She had Riri interact with Spider-Man, and so
Doctor
it was
Strange.
crossovers. Yeah, yeah. But this is, like I say, it's 10 issues and it's flat. And I think she's a good writer. I would say good. I wouldn't say great, but I think she's a good writer. But I guess that answers my question. Is this her modus operandi? So
Is this her first comic book?
No.
no.
What
No,
else
I
did
think
she
it's her
write?
second.
Oh, she did.
Ironheart was her first.
She did
Yeah.
Ironheart. Well, she did Ironheart Champions, Monica
Photon.
Rambeau, Photon. She's
Photon,
done
yeah,
a
that's
few.
right.
Yeah, I
That's
think this
right.
might be her
Right.
first ongoing though. Like,
No,
Right.
Ironheart wasn't supposed to end at 12.
oh, it wasn't? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
No.
Oh, that was a
No.
limited issue.
So
You know, one
you
of the
guys
things
think that she's struggling to write for a male character? Because it seems like she's having success with female characters, but it seems like this one she's kind of struggling
Well,
since it's
I
I
would
don't.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say she had success though, because like you just said, Ironheart that ended early. It
I
was
don't
good,
think.
but it wasn't great.
I was just gonna say I don't think T'Challa being male is necessarily the issue. But what I would say though is I do think his status as a monarch is what makes a
Mhm.
lot of these newer writers like weird with how they handle him, and particularly want to go the deconstruction route. I think because of what monarchy represents, and it's something that's just not particularly palatable, because you're dealing with writers who are like sociologists by trade, right, and
Mhm.
historians by
Mhm.
trade, right. So
Mhm.
I think that kind of doesn't fully cohere with just what they
their
want to see in the
worldview.
world and their
Yep.
worldview. And so I think it's hard for them to tell like aspirational stories with the
Yeah.
character by virtue of that, and they kind of go the more deconstruction route and like, okay, how can we break this person down and try to humanize him and humble him, like, because even in the Black Lord's interview, she did like Eve was trying to circle around using the word deconstruction at one point to describe what she does for T'Challa, but this is effectively a bit of a deconstruction that she does with T'Challa being like, okay, like I'm not actually my gadgets and my throne.
Mhm.
I'm a man. I'm T'Challa, etc. Which I would add is a revelation he's had before in the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
It's
not
right.
a
He
true,
already
it's
went
not
through
a
that.
true revelation.
Yeah, it's a continuation of the deconstruction. But one of the things about these comic book characters, periodically they all go through it more than once. Thor was my second favorite comic book character. And every 5-10 years he goes through something along that himself. He was stuck here on Earth. There was a point in time in the 2000s when he felt he was unworthy. So that's not uncommon. But
Yeah.
the way that it was done is that he always comes back on top. And that's not where we are right now. We had 15, 17 issues during the last run where he was down. This would be the time that you build him back up. Jay
Yeah.
mentioned how this storyline is flat. And it reminds me, speaking of Thor, going back to the 1980s, Thor would have this main story. And then subtly in the back of the book, there would be a panel or two about something else. Well, that something else led to the Casket of Ancient Winners storyline, which was one of my second favorite comic book storylines, right behind the Dark Phoenix saga. That's something that's missing in this book. Is like we're just focused on this crime family with nothing else underneath to give us something to look forward to. As I think it was, you don't know, just said, it's what's there. Like it's meh. The writing was
It's
Mhm.
cool, but I'm
it's
agreeing.
cool. There's
It's
moments
cool.
where he's like being smart. Hey, the sub frequency from Deathlock, I still have it on my data. That's why I can find the Cassandra family really quickly. That happens in the comics. So he's acting like the character. It's just the status thing that he's not the king, but he's acting like T'Challa should act, right?
That's the
Correct.
only thing, though.
Yeah.
That's what's drawing people in, his detective kind of mind and how he handles himself outside of being a king and having all the assets that he's used to. That's the only thing that's drawing us in. The fact that he's going back to his instinctual second nature of like being a hunter, being persuasive and going after like looking for clues, kind of like detective work. But other than that, you know, we already know he's a good fighter. We already know that he has connections. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of like they said, like the focal point is missing, other than the fact that we're trying to rehash to people who T'Challa is outside of him being the king with all billions of dollars of assets.
That's what made Ultimate Black Panther so very good. That one specific issue is that he is on the throne in the book. But not only is that, but he has that regal air of being in control that was missing during the last run. As a longtime fan of the character, that's what I am accustomed to. Even during the period of time when he was quote unquote deconstructed as the man without fear run. Was that what it was called when he took over in
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
the man without fear
In the
run.
Hell's Kitchen. Yeah.
Yes, right. Even though he was not, in Wakanda, even though he didn't have the technology at that time, we felt, or at least I felt, that he was still firmly in control of himself and his surroundings. And that's something that was missing during the last run. And Dr. Ewing should have got to a little bit more quicker in this run, because as I'm thinking about listening to you guys talk about this, I'm agreeing with you. Like, it shouldn't take 10 issues to resolve an issue with the crime family. It just shouldn't. We should be on our second major storyline in this run. The second part being him being the king of Wakanda again, and their I don't know what kind of government they're having over there, but their parliament should
Mhm.
now be going away, falling back to a monarchy. That's what needs to happen, in my humble opinion.
I'll take the 10
I
issue long
I agree.
story of the crime family, but give me what was resolved other than that. What else was resolved? Like, what did we get? What did we solve? 6
Right.
out of 10 run when we needed at least 8 out of 10 after the last run.
No, agreed, and also agreed with that too. Yo, T'Challa finding himself was done on page 1, issue number 1 of Black Panther: Man Without Fear. It starts out with him being like, "I don't have my throne, but my name's T'Challa. I'm more than that. I'm a man. I got hands. I can do da 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 da." Like, it starts out with him affirming that. That's page 1 while he's beating up goons. This took 7 issues for him to realize that by proxy through the new OC, right? Like, doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
But one thing that Kazuku mentioned about the detective work and stuff that was happening. Those were really interesting moments in the comic that I enjoyed. I actually think that should have been leaned into more. I think she clearly went for a Batman approach with this. So I feel like if you're gonna go and bite Batman, go all the way and bite the Batman. This story, what it should have been to me, it should have been like a Court of Owls. Instead, I feel like what she did with the narrative with Burning T'Chaka, because again, she wanted to go through the deconstruction approach. She wanted it so that everybody in this city knows about these crime families. Everybody knows what the up and up is. It's just T'Challa, the king, who's so far removed from his people, that comes in and he's a fish out of water and he doesn't know what's up and he needs them for guidance. That, to me, when you name the city after his father, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I never fully bought into that. But if she went a Court of Owls approach and it was like, no, there's like some super deep undercover like organization here that there's only like whispers of. People don't really know. It's only whispers. And then we get to Charlie actually go through and kind of like spearhead and like crack that case. I think that would have been great.
Yeah.
Then you could have had, again, you could have someone like Niobe be his oracle guy in the chair. He's somebody who he's got his ears super, super close to the ground. So
But
he's
that is what
aware.
happened. Niobe
He's
was the one
aware
who
of-
said the name Baba Nikisu, hey, but you can't say it out loud. That's what
But
happened.
that's because everyone knows. You can't say that now because
But everybody knew that. Everybody
knows.
knew that. Yeah.
Right.
It's not done like a Court of Owls where it's like a super secret thing that people think it's just a myth. Like, everybody knows these crime families are running Burning T'Chaka, and that's done again because it's done for the deconstruction. It's done to be like, look, man, you're a king and you haven't been among your people. You don't know what's good here. That's the arc that she was trying to go for, which I get. I just didn't think that was maybe as exciting if it was
I
like
get
super underground kind of Cabal. That could have been a little bit more interesting to me.
And it
I
does.
agree with that. Yeah, because
Who can
I
tell me?
feel like even though we had crime families, we didn't see any kind of like families with old money. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
generations, they've been, people with all the assets, close enough to be able to like, influence things in the capital. We only saw that, okay, there's crime families and they're mafias, and they take from people, but at the same time, there should be families that had, there should be like Rockefellers.
For
Yeah.
real. And you can broaden Wakanda's world building through that. Like in Court of Owls, Bruce Wayne dig up his great grandfather, look at the bones and stuff to see how he had interacted with the Court of Owls. This could be the same. The Metelli like issue could have just been T'Challa breaking into Necropolis, going through, looking through the archive. You know what I mean? We could have done cool stuff
I'll
like
never
that.
support the Metelli issue.
Yeah.
Like that was so unfitting and a whole comic book.
A
When
whole issue of that, right?
we got Waro and we got Cassinda. Which one's which?
I know War is a dude and Cassinda the in the green.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
I'll
pay
forget
attention to these
them
characters.
after this issue though. I'll forget them a month from now.
But you got it. So they're over here. They're these numbskulls, and that's kind of fun and kind of light. All right. They're apparently Alinia's biggest villains. They're the biggest rivals over here in the gang war, where someone just opens up and sprays at a roller skating park, like in Wakanda, which is supposed to be freaking. It's supposed to be more. It's supposed to be aspirational. What could have been. It's supposed to be this utopia.
Yeah.
So we get. Let's talk about the Ilanga family and Alina. A lot of focus on her during this comic book. When Baba Nikisu is speaking to her via Kivuma, but it's really Kivuma. Like I don't think any of this is actually him. Maybe Kivuma has access to his memories and stuff, but there's
I
some
think
human
that's
traffic.
the soul.
It's a soul, yeah.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
in the resting place of your elders, is the key to our future, Alina. Close your eyes, Alina. Nikisu. I go by many names, you see. So he's shape shifting and being somebody who she would listen to. That's his goal. Any interest in Kivuma, like he's interesting, he's evil, he's trying his best.
Let me say this, something that that somebody mentioned when we did our show on Friday is that in African culture there is a creature known as a Obayifu. I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but Obayifo. And when you look it up, it is a vampire witch-like mythological creature from West Africa coming from the folklore of the Ashanti. In Ashanti folklore, Obayifu are very common and may inhabit the bodies of any man or woman. They are described as having shifty eyes and being obsessed with food. When traveling at night, they are said to emit a phosphorus light from their armpits and anus. But I read that because this creature could very well be considered an Obayifu type creature. And that's something, I'm not familiar with any West African or African mythologies or myths or things of that nature. So when somebody mentioned that and I read that, I thought that was pretty interesting and how that very well could be used to describe Kivuma.
That's cool. Yeah, that is cool.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense, especially with this issue, how Kivuma's drawn, all those like souls attached to him and stuff like that. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She
But
says,
but
"You're
does it
an
make sense
Ankula."
for-
She says, and says that word. You're an Ankula. And I cared so little, I didn't even bother to stop, whip out my phone, and kind of read what is an Ankula.
I think it might be she might have made it might be a name she made up.
It says right there, eater of souls.
You think so? That's what that would mean then? Yeah, maybe. It's in italic writing, so eater of souls, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, given from what Alt Blurred said, it's similar, but I don't know. Maybe it's like a wraith or something, because it's like dealing with souls, not necessarily blood, which is what vampires usually go after. But I could be wrong,
I will say this though, for me, when I read the issue with Kivuma, however you pronounce it, my first thought was this is just Astral Hunter, bro. This is just Hunter. Like it's the same
Mhm.
motivation. Like super nationalistic, Hatut Zaraze. You disagree with the Black Panther on not being militant enough of a nationalist. You go off the grid to prove your case. But it's just this guy's now, you know, into the Djalia and Mystic. But I was like, okay, this is kind of like this is exact same motivation. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
compare him to
it's a sustainable. I don't think it's a sustainable character though, because I mean traditionally, like especially with this character, because it's taken on the personality of the people that it's inhabiting, kind of like a Loa in Haitian culture, and those type of characters don't really stick because they change so often and change so much. So I'm like, I didn't care. I didn't care at all. You know that this entity was there, and I'm still looking for like another villain. Like this is to me this would have been like a quick 3 issue story, like we were saying before.
Yeah.
Also, we saw Mattelli blow some dust out this dude and kill him in one panel. So I'm hoping T'Challa just does the same, blow some dust on this dude and wrap it up.
No.
Like,
No, I need more fighting,
Right.
man. I better get a good payoff of this fighting. I want to know how he's gonna defeat a smoke cloud monster. He doesn't have all the intel that his grandfather had, great grandfather had. I want to see a fight. I want to
That's
see
true,
like
that's
really
true.
throw hands, and like the switching bodies portion of Kivuma may be interesting. He said, "I cannot move freely on this plane. Not yet. I need an avatar. I grew tired of your father, but in you, I see a worthier vessel. I think he's gonna go from body to body every time you try to kill him, and that'll make like an interesting fight. T'Challa's gonna be like, okay, cool. Every time I kill him, he goes to another body. So how do I predict which body he's gonna go into, and then I can make that an empty body? I don't know. I'm writing the
Empty
comic for him.
vessel.
a body
Yeah.
snatcher. That'd be cool.
Yeah. What was that
This
Denzel
would've been-
What if
movie?
T'Challa becomes the host? There we go.
I was thinking about that Fallen. I was just thinking about that when he was reading it. When you jump
Yeah.
from body to body, it was called
Right.
Fallen. That exactly my mind. But with this type of creature, it would have been good to have another hero come into the book, and this would have been a prime time for Brother Voodoo to make an appearance, dealing with some type of mystical character. Now I don't know if Brother
Right.
Voodoo is alive out there or not, but if he is, why not introduce him for T'Challa to try to lean on to help him fight this character?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Brother Voodoo's still around. I think he like the headmaster of the Strange Academy, where they
Okay.
teach like the kids the magic
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He is. That's I think that's the last place that we saw Brother Voodoo is with what was Strange Academy University or something like that, where there's
Yeah,
like
and he
the
was in
3.
issue 1 and 2 of Gods as well, because Gods had all of the
Yeah,
mystics
that's
and all the
right.
science
Yeah.
dudes coming up. So he was there too.
Yeah, that's the last time. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm not in
I pray
support
God
of
Johnny Voodoo
pages from. I'm not in support, Mark, of pages from this comic book series, which is about to end because it's being canceled, being dedicated to Brother Voodoo, as if like giving him page time
Yeah.
and
Here's
attention
the
is
thing,
the priority. It's not.
him to make an appearance
You
in
gotta
issue
not talk over
4.
me, Mark. Like you gotta realize, like, okay, the sound is gonna cut into each other. Just let me finish my thought, and you go. We're here for an hour.
My bad. But my thought was Brother Voodoo could have made an appearance around issue 4 or 5 before we knew that this book was going to be canceled. Because we just found this out, last month.
or maybe
She knew before we
even
knew.
right, or maybe even have Brother Voodoo appear and save the whole series. Maybe extend it for the 15 or 16 issue series.
But
Other
Strange
than cut it
Academy
off again.
readers, you're saying
Something.
You're saying that readers who love Brother Voodoo would come and lift the sales. I don't know what world you're living in, sir.
Well, no, I'm just saying that something to give it some type of spike, because apparently that's what killed it. It didn't have any. It was flat. It's still flat. We're on 9 and it's flat. There hasn't been any spikes as far as
This is
excitement
what
in
I
the
said.
book to me.
These are the things that I would say. Go watch some of my earlier reviews where I would say stuff like you gotta have a new character introduced to bump up and spike up some sales right around issue number 7 or 8. I said things
I'm
like this.
I'm not a genius. I watch them. I'm just saying your words. I'm
Mm.
just stealing that from you. I heard you say that.
That's how you sell comic books, everybody. New characters, right when
Yep.
right when the studio right when the executives are looking at cancellation or not. Issue number 8 sales are really high. Okay, new character, the new character bumped up sales. There's interest here. There's general interest here. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Let's go with more of what people are writing here. Should be light work. If so, wait, let me read this. Is T'Challa still the king of the dead? If so, he should be able to communicate with prior Black Panthers. It should be light work. T'Challa should still be the king of the dead, but some writers pretend like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be having all these troubles with KOD power set. Huh? King of the Dead power set.
Yeah, the power set, yeah.
What is
I
it to
agree.
T'Challa?
Actually, there was an interview with the second interview with Black Lord Comics where Eve just like typed her answers. One of the questions was, "Is T'Challa still king of the dead?" But she never answered that one. She's like, "I'm not. Some of these questions I'm not going to answer so that other writers can do their own thing, et cetera, et cetera." But someone asked, "Is T'Challa still king of the dead?" Because I think one of the earlier issues, he's like, "Oh, I still have my powers from like the herb." Obviously, as readers were like, "Well, that don't make sense. His powers come from King of the Dead, like directly from Bast. Now that's how he got back to being Black Panther after he was put in the coma."
Right.
So
Yeah. So basically, the only thing that T'Challa is right now, or he isn't, is he's not the king of Wakanda. He's not the king anymore. But everything else is the same, right?
should be, but then why isn't he not communing with any of his forefathers, right? Like he should be speaking to Metelli instead of getting a one-shot Metelli, right? We should just have
Yeah.
T'Challa speaking to him.
Yeah. I think the reason why the Eve and some of the other writers haven't highlighted that is because my theory, period, has been that as everybody has seen, they're kind of dumbing down the character, so to speak. They're weakening the character for whatever reason. I believe that ever since the whole recast T'Challa, once they decided that they weren't going to recast T'Challa in the MCU, I felt like everything from that point on, they've been just degrading the character and making him seem weaker and weaker in everything that they've done.
The last 9 issues made him weaker. I just think she didn't.
No.
fix-
I'm saying even before then. I'm saying before then, he still hasn't come back to that prominence. He's still the biggest thing, more so than him being the king. He hasn't become that alpha male that he once was, that he was before the Coates run. Up in when Coates came, I think it was like some spots where he did show that old T'Challa, but then especially with the other guy, the alpha male in him, he was a beta or something else. He wasn't an alpha male anymore. He was weak. He was second guessing himself, and that's not what we're used to as T'Challa. And Eve hasn't done anything to bring him back to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I don't know
go
if
ahead.
Chill scheduled this, but on my FOC for this week's Marvel books is Black Panther number 10. And the issue drops March 20th. You want to hear the synopsis?
Let's hear
Yeah.
it.
Let's hear it.
It says a final confrontation against the Grey Wolf. After discarding Baba Kisu, the Grey Wolf has found a new host, the crime lord's daughter, Alinya Nikisu, to defeat a supernatural power so great and to save Alinya from the Grey Wolf, Eater of Souls. Black Panther must call upon the aid of allies, new and old. Nowhere in there does it say final issue. Nowhere does it say this is it. We're ending here. It should say final issue.
So you have hope that there's issue number 11, Mike?
Oh no, I'm just saying this is this is what I consider mismanagement. We're as retailers, we're supposed to have all the pertinent information so we can make decisions based on how many copies of this to order.
Oh, so if you knew, wait, hold on. If it said final issue, does that mean you retailers get more of the comic or less of the comic? Oh, this is a dud. What are we doing here? Final issue. Ugh.
It all depends. I mean, and even with the covers, they would try, they try pimping out their variant covers to us sometimes without even showing us what the variant covers look like. I mean, obviously, if it says Alex Ross, okay, you know what you're going to get.
Yes.
But even though sometimes Alex is he definitely phoned some stuff in. But I mean, you still want to
Black
see
History Month variant comic book. It just said, it didn't say We didn't have this picture yet. We just had Black History Month
Yeah.
variant pre-order, and you're just like, oh, I guess so.
Yeah. And dude, that's been happening since I've owned the store for 14 years. It's been going on that long. And
To
that's
be honest,
like
to be
line
honest,
wide.
yeah. New member, what's up?
I was gonna say when this issue was first solicited, didn't say final issue. What happened is when people were looking then for the solicits for the following month, they noticed that the next Black Panther issue wasn't there. There was no number 11. Then that's when people were like, wait, is number 10 the last issue? And then certain other sites like Comic Book Nerds or whatever that site's called, they started updating that issue 10 and saying final issue. So to your point, Mike, I feel like this wasn't known initially to be a final issue. Something happened in the back, and then they canceled it after it had already been solicited.
Sales data came back. We're not selling enough. Hey, this will be the last issue of the comic book. It was not intended to end at 10.
But see, this isn't. I don't disagree with you, Chill. But I'm saying this is a main character. Like I understand they do it with they did it with Captain America too. So it's not you invest in your main characters. You don't cancel it and decide you're gonna step back and have them be whatever. What is that book you were?
You cancel it when it's not selling. Marvel is not wrong. That's just proper business. It's gonna cost us money and we'll lose money by going 5 more issues because they write for the trade. If we went to issue 11, fine, we could handle that. But we're going all the way to issue number 15 at the rate in which the sales.
No, I disagree. Back in the day,
you disagree with sales?
No. I disagree that you cancel it. What you do is you have a new creative team lined up that can take it. Like it's what is it? Like the relay. It's a relay. You pass it off to the next team.
Mm-hmm.
You
It'll
don't
happen,
cancel it and then reboot it again with another number 1. This is what keeps happening.
But that number 1 is going to provide so many more sales than this new baton.
False numbers. They're false numbers
when
because
Mark
again,
Waid was in charge of
Champ, down to Jay when he worked at CGC. No. They're going to send it down to Jay when he was at CGC to get it graded because it's number 1. These are false numbers, and then this is going to keep happening.
Sir, they're not false numbers. The sales happen. The sales, the comic book stores pre-order many number 1s. When Jim Zub took Champions at 19 from Mark Waid, the sales increase was not in the thousands. Probably, the new baton, like you just said, maybe a few extra here and there. Hey, I think that Hulk, Braun, what's his name? Amadeus Cho.
Yeah, Braun, yeah.
Amadeus Cho is gonna get a new suit. And same with Riri, she's gonna get a new suit. I think that was the same issue. Maybe I'm wrong. Or the new native character. That may have been
how many issues did number 2 sell? How many issues did number 3 sell?
I would have to go to Comic-Con and show it to you. So just give me 5 minutes or less.
But speaking on that, since you used that as an example though, but the difference is with that Champions issue, I think there's only 3. There's the main cover, and then there was only 2 other covers. The difference is when those number 1s start flowing into CGC, the reason why they're doing that is because you're getting 10 number 1s. You're getting 10 different covers for number 1. So all of those different covers, and that's how they're incorporating the cover artists to kind of help with the sales, to blow up the sales. Even though, number 2 may have, 2 different cover artists, or Torrin Clark may bust out something in issue 5 or something like that, and it'll go crazy. But that's the way they're doing it. They're boosting those numbers because you're buying more issues. Because I know with me, I'm guilty of it. I'll go and I'll buy all 10 issues of Black Panther because of the different covers.
Yeah, I'll do it. It's like I would love to support him for this character not to flop, so I'll buy more comic books. By the way, that as you can see, Champions number 19, 17,000 units sold. But if I go to the month prior, it will go from 17,000 to it's about 17,000 for issue 18. When did Jim Zub join? 18, didn't he?
I thought it was 17.
No.
That's not something that I know right off, but I thought it was 17.
I'll double check. Give me a sec.
Well, in any case, I agree with Mike. Regardless of the numbers of how you cancel a comic book, if you keep doing number 1s, it's going to become kind of tacky and generic. That's what kind of happened with Captain Marvel, because they saw that every single run that they had with her, even though they rebooted it to #1, everybody started calling it a gimmick because those books weren't good. So if you have a continuous run, if that one story arc is not working well, you rehash with another team that can probably bring in a new kind of vision, so that word of mouth can be like, okay, Black Panther is actually getting better. The story is actually getting better now. I like this arc better than the last arc. Instead of going, hey, another #1, we're starting. We were revamping over and over and over and over. Continue the run so that you have a long line of books that people can read when they actually come into it, regardless of whether it's #1, #5, #10, #15. You need a good run so that people can stick around and give it a chance.
For getting this thing. Okay. In 2016.
I understand sales. I understand sales.
No, I'm not doing sales. In 2016, Secret Wars from Jonathan Hickman, the way he's been using him in New Avengers, readers were interested in this character, and he didn't have an ongoing series right now. This was just Hickman using Black Panther for like 3 years, year in, year out. And then the #1 issue for Ta-Nehisi Coates' new Black Panther, 250 comic books were moved on his issue #1. And obviously things go lower and lower and lower, but there was interest there because fans who are readers said, oh yeah, he's Black Panther. He is a part of Marvel. Hickman uses him. This is a character worthy of my attention. So when we look at the beginning of Eve Ewing's run, she had maybe 3 months off from when, Human Garbage ended. So about 3 months off, and then boom, it's read Black Panther again. That casual, that guy who goes to the store and reads the Avengers or Spider-Man, X-Men, they didn't see T'Challa do anything. There was nothing to attach to. It was just, new #1, whatever. There was no inclusion of T'Challa in the big event of the summer of 2023, or no major inclusion. There's no story reason in Avengers to read this. It was just, we'll see what happens, and we'll not try. When this guy goes away, which he will, when he's away, I want him gone for a year. I don't want a Black Panther comic book that's ongoing this year. I mean, I want it, but I know it's best not to. Feature him, do something important with him. Have him appear in Fantastic Four. Have him be a main player in the next event. And the next time we have a Black Panther #1 for Volume 10, featuring a writer, hopefully a skilled writer who's a name. When we get that, hopefully, it will be coming spinning off of the events of some major thing that just happened, so that other people can be attracted to the story and not just hope that Black Panther sells.
Well, Bloodhood would be the event, right? Because that is the summer event that's happening. Or you think it's got to be something different?
No, just because it's Blade, it's kind of his thing. So I don't think that Blood Hunt will be it. Now, if he's the main character of Blood Hunt, then yeah, you're right. I would take that. Yeah, that would be something to do.
I don't think Blood Hunt is primarily a Blade thing. It's Jed McKay's stuff, because he did a whole bunch of vampires with Moon Knight, or with like Hunter's Moon and all that kind of stuff. There's vampires all throughout that run. So it's his event. So Blade has a mini. He's got a Midnight Sun mini, and so does Bloodline. So like Dracula, Bloodline, they have a mini as well for the Blood Hunt. But it's actually like a core Avengers event that's happening.
That's not the one then. That's not the one. He can be a part of it, but it's not the one. Give me a year of him showing up in other people's comic books, him being important in the Avengers comic book, and then we can start with a new.
So you think a year away? A year
is not
away
that
is
long.
gonna.
A year is not that long with him not getting a comic book, and the taste for T'Challa will be there.
No, that's not what I'm
616
saying.
T'Challa.
I agree with that. But I'm saying in general, keep it on the same run. Don't recreate another #1. If they end at #8, next time he comes back, #9.
Well,
the reason that's not going to happen is sales. Issue #1 will sell more. Why would we do something to please you and make it #11? This was
marketing wise.
When she began this at issue 16 of Human Garbage, and it was issue 16 of Human Garbage. It continued his story, but they called it #1. A lot more sold.
But don't you think that if he's going to disappear for a year, shouldn't there be some kind of major? You just like with cliffhangers on TV shows, there has to be something major to make people like say, okay, this is what happened with T'Challa at the end of this series. I can't wait for the next one. Let us miss him for a while and then come back, on that same run. Not so much the same series, but going in that same direction. If there's no major hike at the end of this one in 10, or if that's the last one, then nobody's gonna care a year from now. I feel like the only people that are gonna care is the true Black Panther fans. We're gonna care because he's back. But those people that aren't Black Panther fans, they're not gonna care if nothing spectacular happened in the last issue.
That's one of the things
Exactly.
that Ewan's run was so good, is that was pretty much a Black Panther book, as Paul calls it, and that was Black Panther and his little friends. And then on top of that, you had the Captain America Civil War movie, and then you had Black Panther have his own movie in 2018. And then you
Hmm.
dropped Coach Run. That was all part of the excitement of that character at that time, was the live action and then the books. If he goes away for a year in print, he's not on any movies, he's not on any shows, they don't do any animation with him, which they should. It's my understanding, I'm not a gamer, but it's my understanding he's not playable in games. This character, unless he's really focused on in the Avengers book, you're not going to really see him at all. And I don't know if I agree with that as a fan of the character.
Right, right. He's gonna fade in, he's gonna fade like Brother Voodoo did.
Yeah,
If
like this
nobody
is
has any idea, sorry, I interrupted somebody.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, a part of me agrees with you, Chill, because I tweeted a similar thing. I was like, bro, I don't need to see this dude till like the next calendar year if I'm not really liking the stories like that. That's how I felt. But to ATL Blur's point, to Jay's point, like, this is an attention economy, right? If you aren't visible, if people can't see you, it doesn't necessarily make people miss you. Your brand might kind of just die. But to your point as well, ATL Blurred, I think what will really be a boost for this character is the other mediums. Like, if that game, Cliffhanger and EA's, they're doing a game, it's undisclosed whether you're going to be T'Challa or not, or if it's some creative character, Black Panther, that's still in the
Still
woodwork.
unknown.
People don't know. But if that is
Yeah.
T'Challa, that's huge. Video games, huge medium, right? Huge medium, huge dollars, huge visibility. If something like that happens alongside, a great run, I feel like you need the proper writer too. Like, you need a writer whose name also pulls. It can't just be any writer. Like, you need a writer whose name pulls. You have all of those things firing all cylinders. MCU probably starts rebooting, soft reboot with Secret Wars kind of stuff. You can get back like the hype and anticipation for this dude. I feel like
But
if
how
all
many
those
years?
things, I mean, video game development take a minute, so that's probably like 4. This is probably 4 years, right?
Wow.
That's a long. That's a
Well,
long.
that's way too long.
That's an eternity in.
That's a college degree.
Yeah, but they've been developing it for
No,
a
when they
year,
made the
2 years.
announcement, they were like just starting development. Like, they didn't even have, they weren't far along. They were still getting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
team together. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. What about this idea? And this is in hopes that somebody in the powers that be are watching this or come back to it later. What about him being in a group? Like, say they show a little bit of him in Blood Hunt series, then he's in a group with, say, Luke Cage and Blade, something like that, and then bring back his main series.
The
That way, it
ultimate.
keeps him relevant.
So to bring back the Ultimates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
ultimate
yeah.
had a great comic book. A character that's hardly ever used anymore is Blue Marvel. There is no reason why Blue Marvel isn't on any teams. There's no reason why he doesn't have his own book. But to your point, Jay, that makes a good suggestion. Instead of having T'Challa be part of the quote unquote main Avengers, have his own ultimate type of Avengers. I mean, I
Right.
just finished the Avengers Inc. And at the end of Avengers Inc., spoiler alert, it makes it seem as if Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, is about to lead her own Avengers team that's separate from the Carol Danvers Avengers. Why can you not have a T'Challa like that? I mean, how many different X-Men teams do we see at any given time over in DC? We had Justice League, we had Justice League International, et cetera, et cetera. There
The
is no
reason why is
reason.
because it won't sell.
Well,
No, you don't think so?
If this isn't selling, why would T'Challa on a team that'll sell? No.
Maybe if you had more interesting characters,
Well,
you don't think? With interesting
T'Challa-
stories and characters?
Interesting stories, no. Interesting build up and things that happen outside of the comic book to draw a reader to the comic book that could get people on.
But that's for
And
the
then-
cat. What about us who read comic books all the time anyway, though?
Yeah, the regular general reader who's reading the Avengers comic. If something in Avengers happens and it says this will be continued on Black Panther or the team of Black Panther, they
Are
will
you
come.
are you reading Avengers?
I'm not reading Avengers. I'm not
Who-
pulling it.
Who here's reading Avengers?
I'm reading and pulling Avengers.
Okay,
I pulled it
because
in Avengers thing. Yeah.
okay, I'm curious about that because like I actually stopped after I think issue like 6 or 7 where him and T'Challa and Sam are still not getting along or whatever. And have they come back together? Are they getting along or anything like that? Because that kind of made me lose interest in it. I didn't see anything any more exciting about it.
There's no outward hostility between the two. I mean, they're
Yeah.
working through their issues, but there's no outward hostility like that other writer had them doing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't think that many people were, because honestly, I pay attention when I go into comic book stores, what's still on the shelves. You know, like I go on Wednesday, then I'll go back on Friday or Saturday, and I'll see the same books that, as far as Avengers go, they're always on the shelf. You're not going to miss an issue if you're looking for it because, it's going to be there. And I don't know if Mike can respond to that, how well it's selling in his store, but I don't see
Which
it
one?
flying off the shelves.
Avengers.
Avengers.
Oh, yeah, not that much.
So it basically needs something new. It needs to be some kind of new group, new juice in that Avengers line, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
Does-
I don't know if it's the talent is lacking from what it used to be, or all the stories have been told, or what the deal is. But there's
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
this Black Panther volume sell worse than the last Black Panther volume?
No, it sells better than the last one. The
With
last
the
one
Alex Ross
was-
covers? Oh, you told me
Yeah.
though. Your customers are
Really?
casuals, right?
Yeah.
Over
Wow.
there in Bridgeport, Connecticut, they're not the diehards. They're just like the regular people.
Well, no, I got some, but it's not for Black Panther because there hasn't been any consistency. I guess I don't know. I can't figure this out, dude. They can't figure it out, and they make more money than I do, and they can't figure it out. I'm over here like, hey, write some good stories, be consistent, consistency. Yeah, no, they don't listen.
I'm glad to hear that he sells more, or that Black Panther sells more now than it did before, at
Yeah,
least
that-
in your shop.
That got to be abysmal. Like, I don't know. I know there's a delay. I know like there's things that they've already done that we aren't going to see for a couple months or whatever. But like, you got to know when something's bad, and that was bad, and they allowed him to keep going, and I don't understand that. I really
And he did his
truly-
worst work on the final issue. Like he
Right.
was doing bad. I get it, but then the Namor thing, and then the whole "I'm not king anymore" thing. Like, he was
It-
really
it-
like a
man,
bull in
it
a china
fits-
shop.
It fits an agenda. It fits. I'm telling you, all of that fit their agenda.
Bingo.
It's to me, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I feel like Kevin Feige and all of those other guys at that higher level, I do believe that once Chadwick Boseman died, and they felt like they needed to kind of spin the story, promote Wakanda as the main character as opposed to T'Challa being the main character, everything started going downhill as far as the T'Challa character, period.
It was
They
Exactly.
needed to kill him metaphorically. This is exactly why they let that last one go. Metaphorically, T'Challa had to die. Everything about him had to die. His
Yep.
tenacity,
Exactly.
his ferociousness, his leadership, his iconic status, his masculinity, everything. That's exactly what happened in the last run. Everything
Yep.
about him got torn down.
Appreciate having that whole Wakanda series. Because here's the thing. I think all Black Panther fans still would enjoy seeing Wakanda expanded and an actual roster of, cool characters. We all want that. But like I don't know why writers and editors think that the path forward for that is to like fully admonish your actual main character, treat them like shit, and then that's what's gonna get you to be endeared to new characters. Like it's never gonna work out that way, right? To your point, Kaizo, if you destroy everything about him, his tenacity, all this kind of stuff, yo, I don't care about Tosin now. Now, when you try to throw Tosin in my face, I'm not clapping for him. I hate that dude too now. I'm like, yo, get that dude out
Right,
my face.
right.
Like
Little
I'm trying to see the OG
disrespectful.
resolve for exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Jay. Like when how they were tearing him down and then came out with that Wakanda series where it's like, look how cool everybody else is in Wakanda. Look how cool Shuri is. Look how cool
Still
Tosin is.
happening.
That didn't make
Yep.
sense to me.
It's still happening. Wakanda forever. Next is Wakanda forever, everybody. Like the attention is being taken off of main dude just so we can Wakanda forever. I look at her the
And
same way you look at Tosin, though. It's just a representative of a character who takes screen time, page time.
and this is something that I think about, because like I've hated Bruce Wayne and Batman for eternity. I've hated it for the longest, and I would always tell people I'm not a Batman fan. I got like 3 or 4 boxes of Batman comic books, but it's only because of Gotham. I love Gotham, and I love his rogues gallery of villains. I think that would have been great if they would have incorporated that kind of ideology and say, okay, we're going to build up Wakanda. We're going to let Wakanda have their own villains. We're going to start doing these different things, introduce these particular characters just the same way, but still let T'Challa be T'Challa. Let the main thing be the main thing, in my opinion.
Because even with Batman, that growth development happens through Batman. You learn about all these things through Bruce
Through
Wayne's lens for the most part. And Bruce Wayne is he's written well. Like they'll these writers will let him survive a fall from the moon, bro. And he's a regular dude.
true
And like that
story, true
breaking through
story.
the stratosphere, landing,
Fact.
standing up
That's
and
a
walking
fact.
away. You know what I mean? Like they're doing that with him and still letting
Right,
you expand through Gotham. So you got your feats, you got your power fantasy, all that kind of stuff, but you're still getting lenses on other characters, and then eventually through that, those characters are able to spin off and get their own series, a mini or a run with like a Nightwing, right? Nightwing's getting his own runs and stuff like that, right? So that's the formula, like the template's right there. I
right,
just don't know why they keep on
right.
dropping the ball with Black Panther. Like the formula is there.
You
Exactly.
mentioned
I'm completely invested in Red Hood. Mainly because of
I
Sanford
got you.
Green,
Black
but
Panther conversation though. But yeah, Red Hood,
yeah,
awesome.
but I'm saying, but that's what everything comes together though. I don't know, man.
you know,
They're missing the point.
I'm not a huge proponent of the idea of Black Panther going away for an entire year, if not longer. But I do like the idea that somebody just mentioned. I think it was, you don't know, about how you have all these minis or whatever with Black Panther. I'm sorry, with Batman. I'm not necessarily a Batman fan. You know, Batman on any given month, 5 or 6 different titles about the Bat family. But there's a story right now called Batman Off World. I'm assuming that it is part of that continuity where Batman is literally in space learning how to fight aliens so he can better protect Gotham. Instead of having, a Black Panther ongoing, I would have no issue with a Black Panther limited series having him that's part of continuity fighting characters or individuals who he may not normally have, and then bring him back every 3 months or so after that, and then have a run. So
And
I
that's
think
not a
that
successful. That's not good. That's terrible for him to only be a limited series guy. That is where he is now. So the Blood Hunt thing is 3 issues. It's tying into an event. After Blood Hunt is over, 3 months from now, we're going to be hearing about a brand new Black Panther title announced. It may even be Ewing, and it may just be what she was gonna do next. Except now we get to brand it #1, which will sell more comics. 2, 3, 4, and 5 will sell just as much as 11, 12, 13, and 14. We're gonna, but with new #1, they'll make it'll be worth the money that they put into it. That's where he is, and that's a terrible place to be at, where the Black Panther comic book doesn't sell or warrant an ongoing series. They found that out because they gave it 2 goes. They gave it the one with the Alex Ross covers, and that's the only reason why they sold well or well enough. And then they gave it a second go right now with Torn Clark covers, with
Mhm.
honoring the trash of before, which turned off many fans, except for the ones in Mike's comic book shop. The last page is not interesting to me. It's not because I've had this before. I've had Kivu Ma. Okay, let me be clearer. A fight between these two is interesting to me. It's just I thought the first time we saw Kivu Ma in his cloud form and not his gray wolf form, I thought the first time we saw him was, oh boy, let's see a fight. I'm hyped. So now when I see it, I mean, of course the fight will happen in 10. It's the last issue, but it's less hype. It's more so finally hype. So it's interesting to see that he's going to be fighting with him. Kivuma says, if it isn't the treasonous Black Panther himself, pay for the sins of your forefathers and make way for Wakanda's true protector, Kivuma. Was that a shot at Namor? Was that a shot?
With the true protector.
Yeah. That's every Black
I don't
Panther
know.
villain ever, bro. They all think they're the true protector of Wakanda, right?
Yeah.
Right. They're all trying to usurp the throne.
Yep.
Well, Wakanda's new protector, Namor.
Yeah,
that's
she'll be death.
All right, you guys don't want to give that to me, fine. But what do we think of the line that he said? do we think like, okay, that's Ndozi speaking? That's fitting of the character that we were introduced to at issue 6.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was his whole beef. He was like, "Yo, y'all Black Panthers are soft, and y'all not doing what you actually got to do to safeguard the Golden Realm, right?"
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter, exactly.
Why can't we have somebody that just doesn't like T'Challa?
Like, that's Killmonger.
Instead of trying to like, I don't know, change the
Without-
political atmosphere.
But that was Killmonger's thing too. He didn't like T'Challa, but he also felt like he could protect Wakanda better than T'Challa anyway. So they're all thinking that they would serve that role better.
Honestly, we just need somebody who's on the same sphere as Claw, who just doesn't like his family.
Yeah.
You know? I just want to kill this dude. You know what I mean? I just want to disrupt everything about him. Instead of, oh, let me be the king now. Let me be the ruler. Let me dictate what Wakanda does, this, that, and the third. That it's getting, I guess, oversaturated at this point.
We need white guy villains from the outside.
Exactly. or even non-white, non-black villains somewhere from outside of Wakanda. They could be from another part of Africa. They could be from the Middle East, somewhere from Russia, somewhere other than Wakanda. You know, because I think they exhausted the rogues gallery for Wakanda.
What's another character that's similar to Doom? You know how with the whole Doom War thing. What's another character that could come in and say, Wakanda has this and I want it?
How about just use Doom again? I don't care.
Yeah, T'Challa needs his look back against Doom. Like, he really, really needs to get his look back and properly beat Dr. Doom. That's been way too long. That should be the next run, to be honest. But in terms of villains, I actually think Wakanda needs more internal villains, but internal villains that aren't, again, about dictating like the geopolitics of Wakanda. Like, the crime family would have been the perfect time to create a villain like that, where it's like, yo, we just trying to like run up our money in this city, and we don't want T'Challa come in and messing that up. That would have been a great, like, all right, cool. But then you just expand on, how they try to have a chokehold on the city. I would have been cool with that. That still gives stakes. T'Challa's protecting his nation. Like, he's not neglecting an aspect of his nation. That's cool. That would have been a cooler motivation if it got fleshed out, and it's not like all tying back to the throne and trying to prove that they can manage Wakanda better, etc. That would have been
I got you. I got what you would have wanted. Okay, predictions for the next issue. Besa and Samari resolution. Okay, a fight of 10-page long fight beginning with Kivuma and Black Panther. Shuri does not appear, so no. Yeah, that's my prediction. No Phasa, no. What Niobe's probably going to say something that I don't care about. It's just that's it.
I think that Brother Voodoo may make an appearance based on what Mike wrote, read, based on what was written. I bet he'll show up. Who else fights spirits and things of that nature that he could rely on?
Zawavari.
Yeah, Zawavari.
And they're gonna tie it back to Shuri because she can go in and out of the Jalia. and that's where this
She
thing
should be
is.
there. Yeah, she should be there.
Yeah, they did mention Dajalia to the girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, they are trying to make this more of like an enterprise in the sense of T'Challa did mention he's like, yo, this has to go back up to Parliament. So they are trying to link it back to like corruption. So I like that. From there, I was like, okay, I could see how she's trying to like bring him back to burning T'Chaka or burning Zana, because whatever this gang stuff's going on is apparently linking back to what's going on in Parliament there. So full of Sada and all that.
So Folasada is gonna end up being found out that she's corrupt and part of the whole connection to the crime family.
Wouldn't you love that?
I would. That's what I would like.
But there's no way a writer like Eve Ewing regresses, quote unquote, regresses Wakanda from a democracy back to a monarchy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's gonna be like a middle ground that's held in terms of him getting a status back, but I'm not sure we're ever gonna see the monarchy like back. It won't be her as a writer that would do that. I don't think she would want to
Yeah.
do that.
Unless they all
And
get
that's
killed for some reason.
well that
Vampires.
too, but with that whole thing is, has there ever been a situation in history where it's gone from a monarchy to, the parliamentary thing and back?
Yeah, France, Napoleon. They when they was doing the whole French Revolution and stuff,
Hmm.
they had abolished the monarchy, but then Napoleon came back after what, like 10 some years, and then he became emperor of France. They
Can
went
I
back.
answer that, Jay?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
okay. I think of democracies on that continent of Al Kabulan as ways for the West to interfere in the affairs of these places. I don't think of democracy as, it would be good if everyone had one vote and we all made a decision together collectively. No. I think monarchies, and if the king acts up and acts wrong, you kill him and you revolt, is
Yeah.
way more better of a system to get more done than it is with
Yep.
one where there's foreign influences. But
Yeah.
how woke is Eve Ewing? Is she sipping the Kool-Aid of everything she learned about America? Does she stand for the anthem? Like, what kind of person is she? Who laughed at that? I can't tell who laughed at that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who laughed, but that is a good it's a good question because I mean, all I know, I read some of her stuff, some of her books. I know she's from Chicago and she seems to have um a good finger on the pulse when it comes to politics. I know one of her big things was with the school system, with the getting equality and education
Ghost
in
in the
Chicago.
schoolyard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if she's that extreme with it.
Is it extreme or is it just logical and just like understanding how the world has robbed that continent and interfered in their affairs
Yeah.
to keep them down, even though
I
most of them, yeah, there we go. Even though a majority of resources that make the world go round come from there, but they are not benefiting off of it.
yeah. To
Free,
say
free Congo, free Palestine, free everybody.
yeah.
We're out. Anyone have any last minute things to say about this comic book? Because we talked about everything but the events of this comic book.
It's better than what came before most recently, but it's I think somebody
Just
said
the
in the
beginning
chat,
of your statement has nothing to do with this comic book and the events of this comic book. The final page left us with a Grey Wolf or Kivuma versus T'Challa. All right, thoughts? You already spoke, Mark. Somebody else go. Slevin. He's thinking.
I'm just trying to wrangle my daughter. She's watching Miss Rachel. But anyway, going off of what you did, I think for the next issue, it's going to be a family drama kind of situation because it ties into his great grandfather. Sure, he's going to be in it. She's associated with the Jalia. And we're probably going to see some supernatural stuff. I'm definitely not thinking that they're going to bring in Brother Voodoo, but I think it's going to be integral to the connection between the ancestral realm and I think the connection with Bass too, because he's gonna be messing with the avatar of Bast. So she might come in, maybe she won't, or maybe T'Challa will find his connection back to her. This, that, and the third. But overall, I think it's just gonna be a family drama type of situation.
God damn it.
Yeah. We know who that was. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I'll say that for the ups and downs of the last couple of series, I'm still excited to see, what happens next. You guys put a little bit of hope that, that it may not be the finale in 10. It may be something else, it may extend. I don't know. I've enjoyed this particular series. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Penultimate.
I think it is the final one, specifically
Yeah.
because he revealed himself to the lady he's been working for.
There you go. You didn't even remember her name.
Uh,
Pfizer. Yeah.
Nah, because she's not that relevant.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
know? Follow him on Twitter.
So, yeah. Oh, I'll just do my last quick thought. I thought this issue was like okay. I think I wanted maybe some of these things to happen sooner than issue 9. I don't think there was enough of a build up for this to warrant like a proper payoff. But like, I'm cool to see how it ends. I've been following it this far. One more issue. All right, we'll give it a go. I've been very like middling on this run overall, though. It hasn't really done anything for me. I wanted to like it more than I have, but it is what it is. That's okay. I don't mind.
I'll put your Twitter link in the description. You should already know Slevin, and you should already know Mike from Row Comics. Evolutionary Comics is also going to be linked, and ATL Blurred.
Hold on, I have one thing to say because I was standing up in front when I was helping people and listening to you guys. This is what I want. I want Donny Cates to come to Black Panther. I want him to do what he did with King in Black, where he gets Boston there and all these other characters and ties it all up and brings stuff from the past, from other comic book runs or whatever. And then they can make this big ass crossover for the summer where Black Panther and the Avengers and the X-Men and all of them are involved and make it Black Panther centric. That's what I want.
And they could call it King in Black.
King still in black. Yes. King's always been in black.
King is black.
There you go.
We're out.
Black is king.
Peace.